Daniel Carter looked out the window of the Earth ship UES Liberty as it moved toward the massive space station. The station was bigger than anything humans had ever built. It had spinning rings and towers that stretched for miles. Lights blinked all over its surface like stars. This was Nexus Prime, the meeting place where 12 different alien races came to talk about important things. Daniel was 53 years old with gray hair and calm blue eyes. He had spent most of his life helping different countries on Earth solve their problems without fighting. Now he had the biggest job of his life. He was Earth's first ambassador to meet alien races. The weight of representing all humanity sat heavy on his shoulders. "Sir, we'll be docking in 10 minutes," said Lieutenant Karen Bell. She was a young woman with short brown hair who helped Daniel with his work. She looked nervous as she checked her tablet for the 100th time. "Thank you, Karen," Daniel said. He straightened his dark blue diplomatic uniform. The Earth flag patch on his shoulder seemed small compared to what they were about to face. "Remember, we're here to make friends, not enemies. We want to show them that humans can be good neighbors." In space, the Liberty moved into a docking bay that was so large it could fit 20 ships their size. Strange machines with many arms reached out to grab their ship and pull it into place. Daniel could see aliens walking around outside through the window. Some looked like giant insects. Others seemed to be made of light. There were creatures with 4 arms and things that looked like walking trees. "They're all staring at our ship," Karen said. Her voice was quiet. "Of course they are," Daniel replied. "We're the new kids in the neighborhood. They've never seen humans before." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Daniel and Karen walked through a tunnel that led into the station. The air smelled different. It was clean but had a strange metallic taste. The walls were made of some kind, of metal that seemed to glow from inside. A tall alien waited for them at the end of the tunnel. It looked like a giant lizard that walked on 2 legs. Its skin was green and covered in small scales. Yellow eyes watched them with what looked like annoyance. When it spoke, its voice sounded like a snake. "I am Sektar of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said. Its forked tongue flicked out as it talked. "You are the humans, yes? Very small creatures. I was expecting something more impressive." Daniel stepped forward and held out his hand. "Ambassador Daniel Carter of Earth, it's an honor to meet you." Sektar looked at Daniel's hand like it was something dirty. After a long moment, it touched Daniel's hand briefly with one clawed finger. "Yes, well, follow me. The others are waiting." They walked through long hallways filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Daniel tried not to stare, but it was hard. He saw creatures that looked like walking crystals. There were beings that seemed to be made of metal. One group looked like giant spiders with too many eyes. The meeting room was huge. It had a round table in the center with 12 chairs of different sizes and shapes. 11 of them were already filled with aliens. The 12th chair was clearly made for humans. It looked tiny compared to the others. "The human seat," said Sektar with what sounded like a laugh. "Please sit." Daniel sat down and Karen stood behind him. The other aliens all turned to look at them. Some made clicking sounds. Others buzzed or hummed. A few just stared with eyes that glowed different colors. A creature that looked like a giant bug with 4 arms spoke first. Its voice sounded like metal scraping against metal. "I am Vrexathul of the Insectoid Collective. We have heard about your species. You fight wars on your own planet, yes? Very primitive." "We have had conflicts," Daniel admitted, "but we've also learned to work together. That's why we're here. We want to learn from you and share what we know." The aliens looked at each other. Some made sounds that might have been laughing. Others just seemed bored. A being made of swirling light spoke next. Its voice came from everywhere at once. "I am Luxandra of the Luminar. Your species is very young. You have barely left your home star. Why should we treat you as equals?" "Because every species has something valuable to offer," Daniel said. "We may be young, but we've solved many problems on our world. We've created art and music and literature. We've learned to live together despite our differences." "Differences?" Sektar's tongue flicked out again. "You all look the same to us. Pink skin, tiny eyes, no scales or claws. What could you possibly teach us?" Daniel felt Karen tense behind him. He kept his voice calm and steady. "We could teach you about hope, about never giving up when things look impossible, about protecting those who can't protect themselves." The room fell silent. Then several aliens began making sounds that were clearly laughter. Not the good kind of laughter either. "How amusing," said Rexthul. "The tiny humans think they can teach us about hope." Daniel sat quietly and waited for them to stop laughing. He had learned long ago that sometimes the best thing to do was let people show who they really were. The next 3 days were harder than Daniel had expected. Every morning he and Karen walked to the meeting room hoping things would get better. Every day the aliens made it clear they thought humans were nothing special. Sektar was the worst. The lizard-like alien seemed to enjoy making Daniel look small. During one meeting, it brought up a holographic display showing Earth's history. Images of wars filled the air above the table. "Look at this," Sektar said, pointing a clawed finger at pictures of battles. "Humans killing humans, brother fighting brother, and you want to join our peaceful alliance?" "Every species has made mistakes," Daniel replied. "What matters is that we learn from them. Those wars taught us the value of peace." "Did they?" asked Vrexthul. The insect alien's 4 arms moved as it talked. "Your species still has armies. You still build weapons. We can see them from space." Daniel nodded. "We do. But we also have laws that stop us from using them against each other. We have courts where people solve problems with words instead of violence. We have organizations that help feed hungry people and heal the sick." The aliens exchanged looks. Luxandra's light body pulsed brighter for a moment. "Perhaps your species is not ready for the responsibility of joining the Galactic Confederation. Perhaps you should return to your small planet and grow up a little more." Karen stepped forward. "Ambassador Carter has shown you our art, our music, our literature. He's told you about our achievements in science and medicine. What more do you need to see?" "Respect for your betters," said a new voice. The speaker was an alien that looked like it was made of living stone. "I am Korax of the Granite Worlds. My people have lived for thousands of years. Your entire civilization is younger than some of our buildings." "Age doesn't always mean wisdom," Daniel said carefully. "Sometimes fresh eyes can see solutions that old ones miss." Sektar's tongue flicked out fast. "Are you saying we are not wise, little human?" "I'm saying different perspectives can be valuable," Daniel replied. He could feel the mood in the room getting darker. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'Many hands make light work.' We believe that working together makes everyone stronger." "And we have a saying, too," Sektar said. Its yellow eyes gleamed. "Know your place." The meeting ended early that day. Daniel and Karen walked back to their small quarters on the station. The rooms were basic but clean. 2 beds, a small table, and a window that looked out at the stars. "They're not going to accept us, are they?" Karen asked. She sat down heavily on her bed. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. He stood by the window watching ships move around the station. Most were huge compared to human vessels. Their designs were elegant and strange. "I don't think they want to," he said finally. "So what do? We try one more time. Tomorrow I'm going to make our final offer. If they refuse, at least we'll know we did everything we could." That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about all the people back on Earth who were hoping for good news. Scientists who wanted to share their discoveries. Artists who dreamed of showing their work to alien cultures. Children who looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. He also thought about Admiral Patricia Hayes back on Earth. She had been against this mission from the start. She believed that any species advanced enough for space travel was also advanced enough to be dangerous. "Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst," she had told him before he left. Daniel had disagreed. He believed that any species smart enough to build starships was also smart enough to see the value of peace. Now he was starting to wonder if Patricia had been right. The next morning brought the final meeting. Daniel wore his best uniform. He had prepared his speech carefully. He was going to offer everything Earth could give in exchange for a chance to prove themselves. "Members of the Galactic Confederation," he began, standing up from his small chair. "My people have listened to your concerns about humanity. We understand that we are young and untested. We're willing to prove ourselves." He activated his own holographic display. Images of Earth appeared above the table. Not the wars this time, but the beautiful parts. Mountains and oceans, cities with parks and gardens, children playing in schools. "We offer to share our medical knowledge. Our doctors have found cures for diseases that killed millions. We offer our art and music, our entertainment, our literature. We offer our friendship and our loyalty." The aliens watched in silence. Some seemed bored. Others looked annoyed. "In return," Daniel continued, "we ask only for the chance to be junior members of your confederation. We'll accept limits on our expansion. We'll follow your laws. We'll prove that humans can be trusted." "No," Sektar said. The word cut through the air like a knife. "Excuse me?" Daniel asked. "I said no." Sektar stood up. All the other aliens were watching now. "Your species will never be members of this confederation. You are too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. You will return to your little planet and stay there." "That's not acceptable," Daniel said. His voice was still calm, but Karen could see his hands shaking slightly. "It is not a request." Vrexthul clicked. "It is a command. Humans will remain in their home system. Any attempt to expand beyond it will be met with force." "You're asking us to become prisoners in our own solar system," Daniel said. "We are telling you." Luxandra pulsed. "Your choice is simple. Stay home and live or venture out and face the consequences." Daniel looked around the table at each alien face. Some looked satisfied. Others seemed almost sad. But none of them spoke up for humanity. "I see," Daniel said quietly. "Then I think this meeting is over." Daniel Carter sat alone in his quarters that night. The meeting had ended badly, but he wasn't giving up yet. He had sent a message to Earth explaining what had happened. Admiral Hayes would need time to think about what to do next. Karen knocked on his door. "Sir, are you all right?" "Come in," Daniel said. He was sitting at the small table with his tablet making notes. I'm fine, just thinking. They made their position pretty clear today, Karen said. She sat down across from him. Maybe we should just go home. Maybe, Daniel agreed. But I want to try one more thing first. I'm going to request private meetings with each of the alien representatives. Sometimes people say different things when there's no crowd watching. Karen looked worried. Do you think that's safe? Some of them seemed pretty angry today. I'm a diplomat, Karen. Talking to angry people is part of my job. Daniel smiled at her. Besides, what's the worst they can do? Say no again? What Daniel didn't tell Karen was that he had been doing more than just talking during his time on the station. He had been scanning every alien ship that docked there. His tablet had special sensors built into it that could record energy signatures and ship designs. If things went bad, Earth would need to know what they were up against. The next morning, Daniel requested meetings with the alien leaders. Most of them refused. Only 3 agreed to see him. The first was Corax, the stone-like being from the granite. Worlds. They met in a small room with just 2 chairs. Corax was even bigger up close. Its body looked like it was carved from gray rock, but Daniel could see it breathing slowly. Why did you want to see me alone, human? Corax asked. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. Because I think you're different from the others, Daniel said. You've been quiet during the meetings. You haven't said mean things about my people. Corax was silent for a long time. My species is old, it finally said. We have seen many young races try to join the Confederation. Most fail. The few who succeed do so only after proving themselves through great hardship. What kind of hardship? Daniel asked. War, usually. The Confederation finds threats and sends young races to deal with them. If they survive and succeed, they earn a place at the table. Daniel felt a chill. And if they fail, then they are no longer a problem. That's not what they told me. They said the Confederation was peaceful. Corax made a sound that might have been laughter. The Confederation keeps peace among its members. What happens to outsiders is different. Daniel leaned forward. Are you saying they're planning to attack Earth? I am saying that your species has 2 choices. Submit and become a vassal state, or resist and face destruction. There is no third option. The meeting ended quickly after that. Daniel's second meeting was with a representative from the Aquatic Union, a species that lived underwater. The alien wore a breathing mask filled with blue liquid. It told Daniel the same thing Corax had, just in different words. The third meeting was with Luxandra, the being made of light. They met in a room with no windows. Luxandra's glow was the only illumination. You seem troubled, Ambassador Carter, Luxandra said. Its voice came from everywhere at once. I'm beginning to understand the real situation, Daniel replied. Good. Understanding is the beginning of wisdom. Luxandra pulsed brighter. Your species has potential, but potential means nothing without guidance. The Confederation could provide that guidance. At what cost? Total submission. Your military would be disbanded, your ships would be scrapped, your colonies would be abandoned. Earth would provide resources and manpower when requested. In return, you would be protected. Protected from what? From yourselves. From other threats. From the consequences of your own actions. Daniel stood up. That's not protection. That's slavery. Call it what you wish. Those are the terms. Daniel walked back to his quarters with his mind racing. He had to get this information to Earth. The aliens weren't interested in peaceful coexistence. They wanted submission or war. He began recording a message for Admiral Hayes. He spoke quietly, explaining everything he had learned. As he talked, he noticed something strange. The lights in his room kept flickering. There was also a weird feeling in the air, like the moment before lightning strikes. He finished the message and sealed it in an encrypted file. Then he began copying all the ship scan data he had collected. If something happened to him, Karen would need to get this information home. As he worked, the strange feeling got stronger. The air seemed to buzz with energy. Daniel looked around the room but didn't see anything unusual. Still, something felt wrong. He heard a soft knock at his door. "Come in," he called. The door opened, but no one came in. Daniel got up to look. Outside. The hallway was empty. He started to close the door when he felt it. A tingling sensation that started in his fingers and spread up his arms. "Hello, Ambassador Carter," said a voice behind him. Daniel turned around. Luxandra was floating in his room, glowing brighter than before. But something was different. The light wasn't the calm, steady glow from their meeting. This light pulsed with anger. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked. "Delivering a final message. Your species has been judged unworthy. Your mission here is over." Daniel backed toward his desk where his tablet was. "The Confederation has the right to refuse our membership, but you don't have the right to threaten us." "Threaten?" Luxandra pulsed brighter. "This is not a threat. This is justice." The energy in the room suddenly got much stronger. Daniel felt it crawling over his skin like electric spiders. He dove for his tablet, trying to activate the emergency beacon that would alert the Liberty. He never made it. The energy hit him like a lightning bolt. His body seized up and he fell to the floor. The last thing he saw was Luxandra floating above him, pulsing with cold, deadly light. The last thing he thought about was Karen. She had to get the message home. Earth had to know what was coming. Karen Bell woke up to loud knocking on her door. She looked at the clock. It was 3 a.m, station time. She grabbed a robe and opened the door. A 4-armed alien in security uniform stood outside. "Lieutenant Bell, I am security. Chief Vex Thul. I need you to come with me." "What's wrong?" Karen asked, though she already felt sick with worry. "Your ambassador. He is dead." Karen's legs almost gave out. "What? How?" "We will explain everything. Please come." Karen quickly got dressed and followed Vex Thul through the empty corridors. They went to the station's medical center. Inside, she saw Daniel Carter lying on a table. He looked peaceful, like he was sleeping, but his skin was pale and his chest wasn't moving. "What happened to him?" Karen asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. A strange alien doctor with too many eyes looked up from a tablet. "Atmospheric poisoning. Human lungs are not designed for the gas mixture we use on this station. It appears the filters in his room failed." Karen stared at the doctor. "That's impossible. We've been here for 4 days. If the air was poison, we would have died the first night." "Sometimes these reactions take time to develop," the doctor said. "Human biology is still a mystery to us. We are very sorry for this tragedy." Vex Thul stepped forward. "We have contacted your ship. They are preparing to take your ambassador's body home. You will leave in 6 hours." "I want to see his room," Karen said. "That is not possible. The room is sealed for investigation." "Investigation? I thought you said it was atmospheric poisoning." Vex Thul's 4 arms moved nervously. "Standard procedure, nothing more." Karen knew they were lying. She had trained as a security officer before becoming a diplomatic aide. She knew what lies sounded like. But she also knew she was alone on an alien station surrounded by people who might have killed her boss. "I understand," she said. "Can I have a few minutes alone with him?" The doctor and security chief looked at each other. Finally, Vex Thule nodded. "5 minutes. We will wait outside." When they were gone, Karen moved closer to Daniel's body. She whispered a prayer for him, then began looking for clues. His uniform looked normal. His hands were relaxed. But when she looked closer at his fingers, she saw something strange. There were tiny burn marks on his fingertips. They looked like electrical burns. She also noticed something else. The air around Daniel's body smelled weird, not like poison, gas. It smelled like the air after lightning strikes. She had grown up on a farm and knew that smell well. Karen looked around to make sure she was still alone. Then she quickly checked Daniel's pockets. His wallet and ID were there, but his personal tablet was missing. That tablet had all his notes and recordings on it. She heard footsteps outside. Karen quickly stepped back from the table and tried to look sad instead of suspicious. "Time to go," Vex Thule said as he came back in. Karen nodded and followed him out, but instead of going back to her room, she asked to stop by Daniel's quarters first. "I need to pack his things." "Already done," Vex Thule said. "Your belongings and his will be delivered to your ship." That made Karen even more suspicious. Why were they in such a hurry to get rid of her? Back in her room, Karen sat on her bed and tried to think. Daniel was dead, but not from atmospheric poisoning. Someone had killed him. But why? And what should she do about it? She remembered that Daniel had been working on something the night before. He had been scanning alien ships and recording secret meetings. Maybe he had found out something important. Karen got up and went to her desk. She activated her computer and checked for any messages from Daniel. At first, she didn't find anything. Then she remembered that he sometimes hid files in the backup system. She checked the backup folder and found it, a file labeled Emergency Protocol 7. Her hands shook as she opened it. Daniel's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired and worried. "Karen, if you're watching this, something has happened to me. I've learned some things about the Confederation that Earth needs to know." The message explained everything. The Confederation wasn't peaceful. They destroyed or enslaved every new species they met. They had already decided to eliminate humanity as a threat. "The aliens here see us as dangerous," Daniel continued, "not because we're violent, but because we're different. We don't give up. We don't bow down to bullies. That scares them." The message also contained all the ship scans Daniel had collected. Technical details about alien weapons and defenses, information about their fleet sizes and bases, everything Earth would need to defend itself. "Get this to Admiral Hayes," Daniel said. "Tell her they chose war. Tell her humanity needs to be ready." The message ended. Karen sat in the dark for a long time, thinking. She was just one person on a station full of aliens who had killed her ambassador. How was she supposed to get home alive, let alone deliver this message? She heard a soft sound at her door. Not knocking, more like scratching. Karen turned off her computer and moved quietly to the door. She looked through the small window and saw nothing. But the scratching continued. Very carefully, she opened the door just a crack. A small robot floated outside. It was about the size of her hand and glowed with soft blue light. As soon as it saw her, it projected a holographic message. "Lieutenant Bell, follow me. Quickly, you are in danger. Karen grabbed her bag and followed the robot. It led her through corridors she had never seen before. They went down maintenance, tunnels, and through cargo areas. Finally, they reached a small docking bay where a tiny ship waited. Standing beside the ship was Korax, the stone alien from the granite worlds. "Get in," Korax said. "We do not have much time." "Why are you helping?" "Me?" Karen asked. "Because what they did to your ambassador was wrong. Because my people were young once too. Because someone should survive to tell the truth." Karen climbed into the small ship. It was barely big enough for one person. Korax handed her a navigation computer. "This will take you to the edge of Confederation space. From there, you can signal your people. Do not trust any ship that tries to stop you." "What about you?" Karen asked. "I will delay them as long as possible. Tell your people that not all of us agreed with this decision. Some of us remember what it was like to be alone in the dark." The ship launched before Karen could say anything else. She was thrown back in her seat as they accelerated away from the station. Through the small window, she could see Nexus Prime getting smaller behind her. She was alone in space with the most important message in human history. Daniel Carter was dead, but his final mission wasn't over yet. 6 months passed after Karen Bell returned to Earth with news of Ambassador Carter's murder. During those months, humanity prepared for war like never before. Every shipyard worked around the clock. Every factory switched to making weapons and armor. Every military base trained soldiers for space combat. Admiral Patricia Hayes stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching the biggest military buildup in human history. Through the massive windows, she could see ships being built in space docks that stretched for miles. The new Shadow-class warships were unlike anything humans had ever created. They were black as space itself and seemed to bend light around them. "Admiral, the final squadron is ready for testing," said Colonel Jack Ryan. He was Hayes' second-in-command, a man who had spent 20 years preparing for exactly this moment. "Good. How many ships do we have now?" 200 Shadow-class destroyers, 50 Phantom-class cruisers, and 12 Reaper-class dreadnoughts, plus support ships, fighters, and assault craft. Hayes nodded. It wasn't a huge fleet compared to what the Confederation could bring, but it didn't need to be huge. It needed to be smart, fast, and deadly. "What about the special projects?" Hayes asked. Colonel Ryan smiled. "Dr. Rivera says the dimension mines are ready. The reality distortion cannons are installed on all major ships, and the phase shift armor has exceeded all expectations." Dr. Alex Rivera had worked miracles in the past 6 months. The alien technology that Ambassador Carter had scanned gave human scientists the clues they needed to make breakthrough discoveries. The result was weapons and defenses that seemed like magic. The dimension mines could hide in folded space until activated. Then they would appear inside enemy ships and explode. The reality distortion cannons could make alien weapons turn against their own users. The phase shift armor could make human ships temporarily intangible. "And our people?" Hayes asked. "Ready and angry," Colonel Ryan replied. "Every soldier, pilot, and crew member knows what happened to Ambassador Carter. They're not just fighting for Earth. They're fighting for justice." Commander Sarah Mitchell walked into the command center. She was the leader of Earth's elite special forces, a woman who could fight in zero gravity as easily as on solid ground. "Admiral, the assault teams are ready. We've identified targets on 12 Confederation worlds." "Civilian targets?" Hayes asked sharply. "No, ma'am. Military bases, government buildings, and communication centers only. We're not like them. That was important to Admiral Hayes. Humanity was going to war, but they were not going to become monsters. They would fight hard and show no mercy to those who had killed their ambassador, but they would not harm innocent people. The door opened, and President Cole walked in with Defense Secretary Park. Behind them came Karen Bell, now promoted to Major and serving as a special advisor on alien affairs. "Admiral," President Cole said, "have we heard anything from the Confederation?" "Nothing, sir," Hayes replied. "We sent them our message 3 months ago. They know we want the people responsible for Ambassador Carter's death. They've chosen to ignore us." The message had been simple and direct. Earth knew that Ambassador Daniel Carter had been murdered. Earth wanted the killers turned over for trial. Earth was willing to negotiate a fair peace. If the Confederation refused, there would be consequences. The Confederation's response had been to increase military patrols near human space. They were clearly preparing for war, too. "Sir," Major Bell said, "I've been monitoring Confederation. Communications, they're not taking our threats seriously. They think we're bluffing." "Why?" Defense Secretary Park asked. "Because we're new and small. They've been the biggest power in this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They can't. Imagine that humans could actually hurt them." Admiral Hayes turned to look out at the fleet. "They're about to learn differently." Captain Henry Morgan entered the command center. He was in charge of training all the ship crews. A big man with scars on his hands from years of fighting, he looked like someone you didn't want to make angry. "Admiral, the fleet is ready for combat operations," he reported. "Every ship, every weapon, every crew member. We can launch whenever you give the order." President Cole looked around the room at all these military leaders. A year ago, he had been hoping for peace with the aliens. Now he was preparing to go to war with them. "Are we sure this is the right choice?" Admiral Hayes turned to face him. "Sir, they murdered our ambassador during peace talks. They've threatened to destroy us if we don't surrender. They've made it clear that they see us as nothing more than animals to be caged. What choice do we have?" Major Bell stepped forward. "Mr. President, I was there. I saw how they treated Ambassador Carter. They never intended to accept us as equals. They were always planning to destroy or enslave us." President Cole was quiet for a long moment. Then he straightened his shoulders. "Admiral Hayes, you have authorization to begin military operations. Show them what happens when they murder our diplomats." Admiral Hayes saluted. "Yes, sir. Colonel Ryan, signal all ships. Operation Justice begins in 24 hours. The next day, Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the new dreadnought UES Vengeance. It was the most powerful ship humans had ever built. Around her, the entire human fleet waited in space near Jupiter. The ships looked like a cloud of black death against the stars. "Admiral," said the communications officer, "all ships report ready." Hayes looked at the tactical display. It showed 12 different target systems where Confederation forces were stationed. Human ships were positioned outside each system, invisible to alien sensors thanks to their stealth technology. "Open a channel to all ships," Hayes commanded. When the channel was open, she began to speak. Her voice was calm, but hard as steel. "Warriors of Earth, 6 months ago they killed Ambassador Daniel Carter. They thought we would run away in fear. They were wrong." She paused, thinking about Daniel Carter. He had been a good man who wanted peace. He had died trying to make friends with aliens who saw him as less than human. Today, we show the galaxy who we really are. We are not victims. We are not afraid. We are humanity, and we do not forgive the murder of our own. All ships, Begin the assault. The human fleet moved like a pack of hunting wolves. They jumped to hyperspace and appeared at Confederation worlds across the galaxy. The aliens had no warning. One moment their skies were empty. The next moment, death had arrived. The first target was a Zephyrian military base on a planet called Sector Prime. The base was huge, with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The Zephyrians thought they were safe behind their energy shields and defensive systems. They were wrong. The human ships appeared inside the shield perimeter using dimension jump technology. The Zephyrians had seconds to realize what was happening. Before the human weapons opened fire, reality distortion cannons turned the alien weapons against their own defenses. Dimension mines appeared inside command bunkers and exploded. Phase shift destroyers moved through solid matter to attack from impossible angles. Within an hour, the most powerful military base in Zephyrian space was a smoking ruin. But the humans weren't done. They broadcast a message to every surviving alien on the planet. This is Admiral Patricia Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. Ambassador Daniel Carter came to you in peace. You responded with murder. This is our response to murder. Evacuate your remaining military installations. You have 24 hours. The message was broadcast on every alien world that was attacked that day. 12 major Confederation military bases were destroyed. Hundreds of alien warships were turned to scrap metal. Not a single civilian was harmed. But the message was clear. Humanity had come to collect a debt, and they would not be denied. The galaxy had never seen anything like the human attack. In one day, 12 of the Confederation's strongest military bases were destroyed. The aliens who had ruled space for thousands of years suddenly realized they were facing something completely new. Sector, the Zephyrian leader who had insulted Ambassador Carter, stood in his command ship staring at reports from across Confederation space. His yellow eyes were wide with shock. "How is this possible?" he hissed. "They are primitives. They barely have space travel." "Apparently we were wrong about that," said Vrex Thule, the insect alien. Its forearms clicked nervously as it studied the battle reports. "Their ships can appear inside our shields. Their weapons can turn our own defenses against us. This is technology we do not understand." High Admiral Zekmoth, the Supreme Commander of Confederation forces, was a massive alien that looked like a cross between an octopus and a spider. Its many tentacles moved as it spoke. "Gather the full battle fleet, every ship, every weapon. We will crush these humans before they can do more damage." "What about their demands?" asked Luxandra, the light being who had killed Ambassador Carter. "They want us to surrender those responsible for the ambassador's death." Sector's tongue flicked out angrily. "We do not surrender to anyone, especially not to these pathetic humans." But across Confederation space, other alien leaders were not so sure. The human attack had been precise and devastating. They had destroyed military targets while carefully avoiding civilian areas. This was not the behavior of mindless savages. On the granite worlds, Corax met with other stone beings who had lived for thousands of years. "The humans fight with honor," Corax said. "They could have killed millions of civilians, but they chose not to. Perhaps we should listen to their demands." "You helped one of them escape," accused another stone being. "You are a traitor to our kind." "I am someone who remembers what it was like to be young and alone in a hostile galaxy," Corax replied. "The Confederation has become what we once fought against, a bully that crushes the weak instead of protecting them." Meanwhile, Admiral Hayes was preparing for the next phase of the war. She knew the Confederation would respond with massive force. The human fleet was good, but it was still outnumbered 50 to 1. They would need to be very smart to survive what was coming. Admiral, Colonel Ryan reported, long-range sensors detect a Confederation fleet moving toward Earth. Over 3,000 ships. Hayes looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was huge, but it was also slow and predictable. Good. Let them come. Signal all our ships to fall back to the Sol system. It's time for Phase 2. Captain Morgan's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, the special assault teams are in position. Commander Mitchell has infiltrated the Confederation flagship. Sarah Mitchell and her team had used stealth ships to get close to the alien fleet. Now they were hiding inside the massive command vessel, waiting for the right moment to strike. It was a dangerous mission, but it was also the key to everything. The Confederation fleet entered the Sol system like an invasion force. Their ships darkened the space around Earth as they moved into attack formation. High Admiral Zekmoth was confident of victory. How could a few hundred primitive ships stand against the might of the entire Confederation? Human fleet detected, reported one of Zekmoth's officers. They are taking defensive positions around their home planet. Pathetic, Zekmoth said. They huddle around their world like frightened children. Signal all ships to attack. The Confederation fleet opened fire with weapons that could destroy moons. Energy beams and missile swarms filled space as they advanced on Earth. But something strange happened. The human ships seemed to flicker and fade. The alien weapons passed right through them without causing damage. "What is this?" Zekmoth demanded. "Why are our weapons not working?" "The human ships are phasing in and out of normal space," an officer reported. "They are using some kind of dimensional technology." Admiral Hayes smiled as she watched the alien fleet waste its firepower. The phase shift armor was working perfectly. Human ships could become temporarily intangible, letting enemy weapons pass harmlessly through them. "All ships, return fire," Hayes commanded. The human fleet attacked with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Reality distortion cannons made Confederation ships turn their guns on each other. Dimension mines appeared inside alien vessels and exploded from within. Quantum torpedoes that could track targets through hyperspace. But the real surprise came when the Confederation ships started exploding for no apparent reason. Zekmoth watched in horror as his mighty fleet began tearing itself apart. "What is happening?" he roared. "Internal explosions, sir. Something is destroying our ships from inside." That something was Sarah Mitchell and her assault teams. They had planted charges throughout the alien fleet during the approach to Earth. Now those charges were going off in a carefully planned sequence, crippling the Confederation's most powerful ships. Zekmoth tried to contact his other ships, but the communication systems weren't working. Mitchell's team had also sabotaged the command networks. The Confederation fleet was suddenly blind, deaf, and dying. "Sir," one of Zekmoth's officers said, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." Admiral Hayes appeared on the main screen. She was standing on the bridge of her flagship with Earth visible through the windows behind her. "Hi, Admiral Zekmoth, I presume. I'm Admiral Patricia Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. Surrender." "Now, human," Zekmoth snarled, "and we might let your species live as slaves." Hayes's expression didn't change. "You seem to misunderstand the situation. Your fleet is crippled. Your communications are down. Your ships are exploding. You are not in a position to make demands." "This is impossible. You are primitives." "We're the primitives who just destroyed half your fleet," Hayes replied calmly. "Now let me make this simple for you. 6 months ago, your people murdered Ambassador Daniel Carter during peace negotiations. We want the individuals responsible turned over for trial. We also want a formal apology and a guarantee that this will never happen again." Zekmoth's tentacles writhed with rage. The Confederation does not apologize to anyone. Then, the Confederation will cease to exist, Hayes said. You have 1 hour to consider our terms. After that, we finish what you started. The transmission ended. Zekmoth stared at the screen, trying to understand how everything had gone so wrong. His mighty fleet was being destroyed by an enemy he had thought was harmless. Around the Sol system, the battle continued, but it wasn't really a battle anymore. It was a demonstration. The humans were showing the galaxy that they were not victims. They were not prey. They were predators who had been pretending to be peaceful. And they were very, very good at war. High Admiral Zekmoth sat in his damaged command ship, watching his fleet die around him. In less than 2 hours, the mighty Confederation armada had been reduced to burning wreckage. Ships that had conquered 100 worlds were now drifting. Hulks. The humans had done the impossible. Sir, his communications officer said with a trembling voice, we're receiving surrender signals from across the fleet. Our ships are requesting permission to withdraw. Zekmoth's tentacles curled in rage. No retreat, no surrender. We are the Confederation. We do not bow to primitives. But even as he spoke, more ships were exploding. The human assault teams inside his fleet continued their deadly work. Commander Sarah Mitchell and her soldiers moved through alien vessels like ghosts, striking at critical systems and disappearing before anyone could stop them. Admiral Hayes watched the battle from her flagship. The Confederation fleet was finished, but she wasn't done yet. There was still justice to be served. Colonel Ryan signaled the Special Operations teams. Begin Phase 3. Across the galaxy, human ships appeared at every major Confederation world. But these weren't attack fleets. They were small, fast ships carrying assault teams with a very specific mission. They were going after the aliens who had killed Ambassador Carter. On Nexus Prime, the space station where Carter had died, alarms began screaming. Human soldiers in black armor appeared throughout the station using teleportation technology. They moved with deadly precision, stunning guards and sealing off escape routes. Luxandra, the light being who had murdered Carter, tried to flee to the reactor core where its energy form could hide. But the humans had prepared for this. They carried special devices that could trap energy beings in containment fields. You cannot hold me, Luxandra pulsed as it was captured. I am pure energy. I am beyond your primitive understanding. You're a murderer, said the team leader, Major Scott Davis. And you're under arrest for the death of Ambassador Daniel Carter. Similar raids were happening across Confederation space. Sektar was captured on his homeworld while trying to reach an escape ship. Vrexthul was taken from its hive palace by human soldiers who moved too fast for the insect guards to stop. One by one, every alien who had been involved in Carter's death was captured. Back in the Sol system, Zekmoth watched his remaining ships surrendering. The humans had surrounded each vessel with their phase-shift destroyers. Escape was impossible. Sir, his officer said, the humans are demanding to speak with you again. Admiral Hayes appeared on the screen. Behind her stood Major Karen Bell, now wearing the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. High Admiral, your fleet is defeated. Your leaders are captured. It's time to end this. What do you want? Zekmoth asked. His voice was barely controlled. Rage. Justice, Hayes replied simply. The individuals responsible for Ambassador Carter's murder will stand trial on Earth. The Confederation will formally apologize for this crime, and you will guarantee that nothing like this ever happens again. And if we refuse? Major Bell stepped forward. Then we continue this war until the Confederation no longer exists. We've already proven we can defeat your fleets. How long do you think your civilization will last against us? Zekmoth looked at the tactical display. His mighty armada was gone. Reports were coming in from across Confederation space about human raids and captured leaders. These primitives had destroyed his empire in a single day. You were supposed to be weak, he said. We were supposed to be peaceful, Major Bell replied. Ambassador Carter came to you with offers of friendship. You responded with murder, so we responded with war. Hayes leaned forward. Admiral, you have a choice. Surrender now and face justice under law, or continue fighting and face extinction. Choose quickly. Zekmoth closed his many eyes. When he opened them again, something had changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by defeat. The Confederation surrenders. 3 months later, the trials began on Earth. The entire galaxy watched, as the aliens responsible for Ambassador Carter's death faced justice in human courts. The trials were fair and open. The aliens had lawyers and translators. Every piece of evidence was examined carefully. Luxandra was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 50 years in a special containment facility. Sektar received 30 years for conspiracy. Vrexthal got 20 years as an accessory. The other aliens involved received shorter sentences, but the real change wasn't in the punishments. It was in how the galaxy saw humanity. The Confederation had been the dominant power for thousands of years. Now it was broken, its leaders in human prisons, its fleets destroyed. A new galactic government was formed with representatives from all species. Humans took a leading role, not because they demanded it, but because everyone recognized their strength and fairness. They had proven they could destroy enemies, but they had also shown mercy to defeated foes. Admiral Hayes was elected as the first Supreme Commander of the new Galactic Alliance. In her acceptance speech, she stood before representatives from 100 worlds and spoke words that would be remembered forever. 6 months ago, Ambassador Daniel Carter came to the stars seeking friendship. He was murdered for offering peace. Today, we honor his memory by building the galaxy he dreamed of. A place where all species are treated with respect. A place where diplomats are protected, not killed. She paused and looked out at the assembled aliens. Many of them had fought against humanity. Now they listened with respect and not a little fear. Let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks they can threaten innocent people. Humanity remembers its friends. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, and we never forget those who harm our own. Major Bell, now Ambassador Bell, was given the task of establishing new diplomatic protocols. Her first rule was simple. Any harm to a diplomat from any species would be considered an act of war against all species. The memorial to Daniel Carter was built on the moon, where it could be seen from Earth. The inscription read, "He came in peace. His death brought justice. His dream brought unity." But perhaps the most important change was in how humanity saw itself. For years they had wondered if they belonged among the stars. The war had given them their answer. They belonged wherever justice was needed. They belonged wherever the strong tried to crush the weak. They belonged wherever someone needed to stand up and say, "No more." The galaxy learned that humans were not just another species seeking a place at the table. They were the species that flipped the table when the game was rigged. They were the ones who looked at an empire that had ruled for millennia and said, "Your time is over." Some species joined the new alliance eagerly, grateful to be free from Confederation rule. Others joined reluctantly, afraid of what would happen if they refused. But all of them learned the same lesson. Humanity had come to the stars seeking friends. When friendship was denied, they had settled for respect. And they had gotten both through strength, justice, and an absolute refusal to let evil go unpunished. The age of the Confederation was over. The age of humanity had begun. High Admiral Zekmoth sat in his damaged command ship, watching his fleet die around him. In less than 2 hours, the mighty Confederation armada had been reduced to burning wreckage. Ships that had conquered 100 worlds were now drifting. Hulks. The humans had done the impossible. "Sir," his communications officer said with a trembling voice, "we're receiving surrender signals from across the fleet. Our ships are requesting permission to withdraw." Zekmoth's tentacles curled in. Rage. "No retreat. No surrender. We are the Confederation. We do not bow to primitives." But even as he spoke, more ships were exploding. The human assault teams inside his fleet continued their deadly work. Commander Sarah Mitchell and her soldiers moved through alien vessels like ghosts, striking at critical systems and disappearing before anyone could stop them. Admiral Hayes watched the battle from her flagship. The Confederation fleet was finished, but she wasn't done yet. There was still justice to be served. Colonel Ryan signaled the Special Operations teams. Begin Phase 3. Across the galaxy, human ships appeared at every major Confederation world. But these weren't attack fleets. They were small, fast ships carrying assault teams with a very specific mission. They were going after the aliens who had killed Ambassador Carter. On Nexus Prime, the space station where Carter had died, alarms began screaming. Human soldiers in black armor appeared throughout the station using teleportation technology. They moved with deadly precision, stunning guards and sealing off escape routes. Lux Andra, the light being who had murdered Carter, tried to flee to the reactor core where its energy form could hide. But the humans had prepared for this. They carried special devices that could trap energy beings in containment fields. "You cannot hold me," Luxandra pulsed as it was captured. "I am pure energy. I am beyond your primitive understanding." "You're a murderer," said the team leader, Major Scott Davis. "And you're under arrest for the death of Ambassador Daniel Carter." Similar raids were happening across Confederation space. Sektar was captured on his homeworld while trying to reach an escape ship. Vrexthul was taken from its hive palace by human soldiers who moved too fast for the insect guards to stop. One by one, every alien who had been involved in Carter's death was captured. Back in the Sol system, Zekmoth watched his remaining ships surrendering. The humans had surrounded each vessel with their phase-shift destroyers. Escape was impossible. "Sir," his officer said, "the humans are demanding to speak with you again." Admiral Hayes appeared on the screen. Behind her stood Major Karen Bell, now wearing the uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. "Hi, Admiral. Your fleet is defeated. Your leaders are captured. It's time to end this." "What do you want?" Zekmoth asked. His voice was barely controlled. "Rage. Justice," Hayes replied simply. "The individuals responsible for Ambassador Carter's murder will stand trial on Earth. The Confederation will formally apologize for this crime, and you will guarantee that nothing like this ever happens again." "And if we refuse?" Major Bell stepped forward. "Then we continue this war until the Confederation no longer exists. We've already proven we can defeat your fleets. How long do you think your civilization will last against us?" Zekmoth looked at the tactical display. His mighty armada was gone. Reports were coming in from across Confederation space about human raids and captured leaders. These primitives had destroyed his empire in a single day. "You were supposed to be weak," he said. "We were supposed to be peaceful," Major Bell replied. "Ambassador Carter came to you with offers of friendship. You responded with murder. So we responded with war." Hayes leaned forward. "Admiral, you have a choice. Surrender now and face justice under law, or continue fighting and face extinction. Choose quickly." Zekmoth closed his many eyes. When he opened them again, something had changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by defeat. The Confederation surrenders. 3 months later, the trials began on Earth. The entire galaxy watched as the aliens responsible for Ambassador Carter's death faced justice in human courts. The trials were fair and open. The aliens had lawyers and translators. Every piece of evidence was examined carefully. Luxandra was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 50 years in a special containment facility. Sektar received 30 years for conspiracy. Vrexthul got 20 years as an accessory. The other aliens involved received shorter sentences, but the real change wasn't in the punishments. It was in how the galaxy saw humanity. The Confederation had been the dominant power for thousands of years. Now it was broken, its leaders in human prisons, its fleets destroyed. A new galactic government was formed with representatives from all species. Humans took a leading role not because they demanded it, but because everyone recognized their strength and fairness. They had proven they could destroy enemies, but they had also shown mercy to defeated foes. Admiral Hayes was elected as the first Supreme Commander of the new Galactic Alliance. In her acceptance speech, she stood before representatives from 100 worlds and spoke words that would be remembered forever. 6 months ago, Ambassador Daniel Carter came to the stars seeking friendship. He was murdered for offering peace. Today we honor his memory by building the galaxy he dreamed of. A place where all species are treated with respect. A place where diplomats are protected, not killed. She paused and looked out at the assembled aliens. Many of them had fought against humanity. Now they listened with respect, and not a little fear. Let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks they can threaten innocent people. Humanity remembers its friends. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, and we never forget those who harm our own. Major Bell, now Ambassador Bell, was given the task of establishing new diplomatic protocols. Her first rule was simple. Any harm to a diplomat from any species would be considered an act of war against all species. The memorial to Daniel Carter was built on the moon, where it could be seen from Earth. The inscription read, "He came in peace. His death brought justice. His dream brought unity." But perhaps the most important change was in how humanity saw itself. For years they had wondered if they belonged among the stars. The war had given them their answer. They belonged wherever justice was needed. They belonged wherever the strong tried to crush the weak. They belonged wherever someone needed to stand up and say, "No more." The galaxy learned that humans were not just another species seeking a place at the table. They were the species that flipped the table when the game was rigged. They were the ones who looked at an empire that had ruled for millennia and said, "Your time is over." Some species joined the new alliance eagerly, grateful to be free from Confederation rule. Others joined reluctantly, afraid of what would happen if they refused. But all of them learned the same lesson. Humanity had come to the stars seeking friends. When friendship was denied, they had settled for respect, and they had gotten both through strength, justice, and an absolute refusal to let evil go unpunished. The age of the Confederation was over. The age of humanity had begun,